What if I told you that most people aren't trapped by their circumstances, but by their own minds? What if the biggest obstacle to your freedom isn't the system, the government, or religion? Imagine that. But your refusal to see the truth. Willful ignorance is a prison, and the doors aren't locked. You just refuse to turn the handle. Today, we are exposing how fear of change keeps people mentally and spiritually enslaved, how powerful systems profit from your blindness, and most importantly, how to break free. Are you ready? Let's go. Welcome to the Sankofa Sessions podcast, and I'm your host, Chief Apostle Veronica Israel. Here is where we dig deep, challenge the status quo, and unearth the truths that set us free. Today we're talking about something that affects every aspect of life: willful ignorance and the fear of change. Why do people resist enlightenment even when the truth is right in front of them? Why do so many people choose to remain in bondage, mentally, spiritually, and economically, rather than to confront the reality that could set them free? Here's some hard truth, family. The world is designed to keep people in ignorance because ignorance is profitable. Entire systems, religions, politics, media, capitalism has its effect on the masses and keeping them blind and dependent instead of being liberated. But here's the good news. You don't have to stay bound and in bondage. Today, we're going to break down why people cling to lies, how the system benefits from our fear, and most importantly, how to break free once and for all. And if you're ready to break the cycle, stay with me and let's get into it. Let's start with the basics, shall we? What is willful ignorance? Willful ignorance is not just not knowing. It's choosing not to know. It's the act of avoiding truth because truth requires change. Think about it. How many people dismiss facts, history, or new perspectives simply because it makes them uncomfortable? How many people cling to toxic beliefs, harmful traditions, and outdated doctrines just because that's the way it's always been done? How many people have seen evidence of corruption, manipulation, or oppression, and yet they defend the very system that keeps them down? Why? Because the truth disrupts comfort. Truth demands accountability. Truth forces us to rethink everything we thought we knew, and that terrifies people more than bondage itself. This is why people reject new information, even when it's clear, logical, and undeniable. Because if they accept it, they have to accept the reality that they've been lied to. They have to confront the fact that they have been complicit in their own oppression. And for most, that's just too much to bear. Make no mistakes about it. Your ignorance is by design. There are entire systems that thrive off your lack of awareness. Number one, religion. Control through fear. Organized religion, particularly in its colonized form, was never meant to liberate. It was meant to control. It teaches you to fear questioning, to fear knowledge, and fear stepping outside of its dogma and its bounds. Why do you think that questioning doctrine is labeled as heresy or blasphemy? Why do you think religious leaders push suffering, submission, and obedience while they themselves live in wealth and access, enjoying the tithes and offering that the people bring into them? Why do you think they tell you to wait for heaven instead of creating heaven here on earth? The answer: because the moment you wake up is the moment they lose control. When you're not in those benches and in those seats, in those spaces, you're harder to control. You're not able to be surveillanced and watched and programmed to their agenda. Number 2, the political system. Power through division. Politicians thrive on your ignorance. They keep you distracted with false narratives, pitting groups against each other, so you never realize the real enemy isn't your neighbor, it's the system itself. Why do they push propaganda instead of truth? Why do they dumb down education and attack critical thinking? Why do they keep the masses in poverty while funneling wealth to the top? The answer is because when people are too exhausted, uneducated, or misinformed, they are easy to control. Number 3, good old capitalism. Profiting off your struggle. The economy is built on your ignorance. They don't teach financial literacy in school for a reason. They don't want you to know how to build wealth, how to own land, how to create generational security. Why do corporations push mindless consumption? Why do they sell you through illusions or sell you the illusions of success through debt? Why do they capitalize on your insecurities to sell you products you don't really need? The answer is because an informed, financially free people cannot be manipulated. Well, now that we see the chains, the question is, how do we break them? We've discovered the problem. Now let's talk about the solution. Number 1, stop worshiping comfort. Growth requires discomfort. If you want to evolve, you have to be willing to unlearn, to be challenged, and to confront the hard truths about yourself and the world around you. Comfort is a prison. Growth is liberation. Number 2, seek knowledge relentlessly. The system survives on your ignorance, so educate yourself. Read beyond what they teach you. Question everything you were raised to believe. Study history, spiritual systems, economic strategies, because knowledge is the key to freedom. And the right application of knowledge is your true liberation door. Number 3, take radical accountability. It's easy to blame the system, but at some point, beloved, we have to ask the question, what role am I playing in my own oppression? Am I accepting false narratives because they are convenient? Am I choosing ignorance because the truth is too uncomfortable? Am I upholding the very system I claim to want to get free from? Liberation starts within, beloved. You cannot break external chains if you refuse to break the internal ones first. Number 4, build and support communities of truth. Seekers, you cannot do this alone. You need a community of people who are dedicated to truth, growth, and liberation. Find spaces that challenge you to think critically. Support movements that are exposing the system. Create spaces where truth is valued more than tradition, because the more of us that wake up, the harder it is for the system to keep us down. So here's the bottom line. Willful ignorance is a choice, but so is liberation. You can choose to remain in the comfort of lies, or you can choose to step into the discomfort of truth. One will keep you bound, the other one will set you free. The system wants you asleep. It wants you blind, obedient, and afraid. But the moment you open your eyes, the moment you start questioning, the moment you choose to break free, that's when the game is over. So I leave you with this question. Will you choose the illusion, or will you choose freedom? This has been Sankofa Sessions Podcast. Peace be with you.